most often people are looking at a wall of text in a textbook or something their teacher's trying to explain. Their teacher's trying to explain a new word either in English or using Chinese that they don't know, right? They don't fully know. And therefore, you don't have a high level of the comprehension of the content you're reading or listening to.
So another way you could think of this is that they start from context, but they don't build to context, which is like you can't. It's starting from context is what's called top-down learning, which is fine if you don't have a writing system that's totally different from English. Like you could, and it's also not fine to do all the time. If you're learning French, you can't just have only top-down. But at least French has alphabet, Roman alphabet, so you can sort of get a sense of things. But if you teach top-down, it's all about when you see something. The timing is so key. So you can see a wall of several paragraphs, but if you're seeing it at just the moment when you know about 98% of the characters in it, it's the perfect time to see it. And then your context is really going to help you. But if you see that when you only know, say, maybe 40% of the characters, it's a frustrating mess and it doesn't help you at all. It just makes you want to quit, really. So it's all about when, and that's what you need to do. You can't just go into context right away. You got to build to it. So we'll get to that.
This was the biggest barrier. This is the biggest barrier to us when we were learning, and most beginners and intermediate people. It's the most. I think it's the biggest cause of frustration for everyone, and it's the thing we've spent the most effort and time solving. There are many resources out there for learning words, but to see words in context with a full understanding or near full understanding is almost impossible at low level because you don't have the vocabulary. And often you're learning a list of words and a separate list of characters. If you're smart, you're learning characters, but still the characters and the words are often from different resources and they don't sync up. And the words you're learning, usually how a textbook works, you get a big list of words. Here's a text that uses these words with a bunch of other words that you haven't learned. Right? So you're like, okay, sort of getting it. And you have to just grind your way through to the upper intermediate level just by sheer will and sheer willpower. And that's not cool. So we decided to sync up these characters, components, and pronunciation at every level of the language, from pronunciation to characters, to words, to grammar, to longer form content. Like originally you can't, but now you can because we've created Oklo. That's the acronym that we've used for Optimal Character Learning Order. So it's not just about the characters, it's about exactly how we introduce them.
So what is Oklo? Well, as you see on the screen here, a step-by-step integrated learning sequence evolving from components, characters, words to sentences and longer form content, essentially taking what you already know and going to the next step, which is bordering what you already know. You always want to keep that sphere of knowledge growing by just reaching out a little bit. You can't know 3 things and then go to the 900th thing you're supposed to learn, which embarrassingly is what traditional learning methods do all the time. They'll throw in something where, you think about it, one word, if you don't know the 2 characters, there could be as many as 12 elements to it that you don't know. You've got the components, you've got the pronunciation, you've got the tone, you've got the meaning of the characters, and then how they relate to each other. There's so much that you might not know that it puts you in a frustrating position. So this is what I was saying before about how it's all about when you see something, that you see the new thing right at the moment you're ready for it and it's not too hard. And actually, if you learn everything that way, where you're just building on what you already know, then it never really feels too stressful because the next thing you're learning, it's like, oh yeah, that relates completely to the character I just learned, or that relates to the component I just learned. This sentence has 7 characters in it, but I know all the characters. So for getting a sense of grammar, it's not, that's all I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on, but I don't know those 2 words though, and how does this work? You're always in that sphere where you can understand, and then you grow that out into a paragraph, grow that out into a full story. So if we look here at the different characters and words that we might know, we talked about 说明. We know Ming, we know Shuo. So when you learn Shuoming, you've learned those 2 characters properly, and you learned the components of those characters, which is below the characters, and you learned the different pronunciations in the pronunciation mastery. And then here's a sentence that has 2 words that contain the character Ming, but you can guarantee I know all the characters in that sentence. And then you go up to the next level, which is a full short story, and it's about somebody explaining something. And when you see that whole process, but you go step by step and you don't jump around, you move right from one section to the next logically, then the entire process, it's just a matter of walking the path. It's not a matter of straining yourself and stressing your mind out, which is a huge relief to people. Because it's like, okay, you only have an hour a day, you only have 30 minutes a day, you have 8 hours a day. doesn't really matter. Just keep walking the path and you'll keep making progress.
And you'll be confident that every minute this is the biggest thing for me, for both of us, right? Because we tried so many things learning Chinese, like so many. In fact, I think most of the things we've done, right? All the different products out there, we've tried it. And one of the most stressful and annoying things and demotivating things is the many hours that I'm putting into this particular method or product actually gonna come back and be worth my time? Because my time is valuable. I have 1 hour a day or however many hours a day. I want every minute to count. That's what we've set in place. Now, once you've started to reach a certain stage in our course and you've got a certain amount of characters and words, you can start to read and listen to actual content. And this happens after a few weeks, sometimes even a few days if you're really smashing it. But you can actually start reading and listening and understanding full-length content, sentences in Chinese without help. That's pretty magical, right? So that's where grammar comes in.
谢谢你观看我们的这个视频. If you found this video valuable and you'd like us to help you reach fluency and literacy in Mandarin Chinese as fast as possible without all the headache of traditional learning methods, just head to mandarinblueprint.com to learn more. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell below to be notified every time we release a new video. And of course, 保重